Hello and welcome to Two Blokes in a Cave, a vaguely philosophical podcast hosted by me, Carlton Sin, a vaguely philosophical guy, and my friend Cameron, who is currently the luckiest man in Oxley, who's just been pooped on by a bird. So I think, thanks a lot for being here, Cameron.
So I was wearing a shirt that looked almost as good as Carlton's shirt, but now I'm wearing this ridiculous Rolling Stones piece of crap because I got shat on by a bat. And I don't know if anyone out there knows, but I'm so OCD. This was like my worst nightmare mental breakdown, and it was really bad. You know how bats just jump out of the bushes and stuff when you just like walk by them and they just fly in any given direction, and then someone fly directly at me. I'm pretty sure the wing hit my head and then shat on my back. It was bad. This is why I'm hella late, by the way. This is super late. Everyone's annoyed at me.
What makes it so funny is Brendan and I did realize how devastating this was, specifically for Cameron, because he genuinely carries like Dettol everywhere.
So this was full earlier today, and now it's empty.
Yeah. Anyway. Basically dunked himself in a pool of Dettol because he thinks he's going to die. It's very funny.
It's through the wars.
It was a good time. So luckiest
man ever.
What's
a terrible time? What are you talking about? Anyway, go. That's fine.
He's going to be lucky. So I was thinking today we wanted to do something a bit lighter in light of some of our comments and just in people that enjoy the show. And I thought, what would be interesting? We'll go through some of our favorite movies and like why we enjoy them.
Oh, okay.
And I think
you really sprung that on me. Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
this is off the cuff.
It's off the cuff. It's going to be what kind of movies do you like? Why do you like them? And what are your top kind of maybe 3 or 5 movies? Because I know it's really hard to say what's my favorite all time. I have several movies that I go back to and love, and they have a pretty consistent through line, and I'm not sure if that's common for everybody or if that's like specifically a me thing, because I like my movies this way, and I don't necessarily have a huge...
My movies direct.
I just want them the way I like them. That's it. I just want movies that I like.
Stop battering them. I like crumbed. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So I reckon let's kick it off. I'll start with my favorite, and we'll kind of just shuffle through, and if you like a movie or dislike it, and we can kind of argue and make it kind of funny. My favorite movie is Good Will Hunting.
And I know so. Yeah.
I think it's just a terrific movie. I love everything about it.
It's a good movie.
I think because it has got vaguely philosophical ideas, it is interesting. And I think even if we could sit on for a moment the line from Ben Affleck's character when he says, like, I kind of want to wake up, go to pick you up, and then you not to be there. Don't call me, don't text me, just disappear. And like, when I was younger, it seemed like the rudest things. It's just so mean. I'm like, why would you want someone to disappear on you? But I think you kind of, as you mature, you kind of understand where he's coming from. Even though, like, I still think, like, maybe just send him a text and be like, hey, I'm going to MIT. I'm a really cool guy now.
Are you still lifting garbage in that metal place?
Yeah, it is interesting to me, like that idea that when you do love someone and you love them enough that you're like, I need you to do what's right for you, even if it's to my detriment, which it is, because obviously, like, if I really believe that, like, you should be in England, that would make me very sad because I would not see you. You know what I mean? Like, if I felt that, I would tell you, and we've done the whole honesty thing, and I feel like being honest is one of the key virtues. But
there's a subtle through line with that England comment. Don't worry about that.
It's very specific to you. But that would I would be compelled to tell you that. But I'd also be like, hey, that kind of makes my life a little bit worse because there's no Cameron in my life, and then I'm just one bloke trapped in a cave. And no one's helping me out.
Okay,
Producer Bronos is laughing at me like, you're in a cave, you idiot.
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, One Bloke in a Cave isn't as catchy as anything. I mean, no one really wants to watch that. It sounds a little sinister. Huh?
2 Blokes in a Cave is good. 1 Bloke in a Cave, you're calling the police. That's
a Nicolas Cage film at this point. No one wants to see that. No, I love Nicolas Cage. That's a side note. I really think he's amazing. But like,
that's also true.
Getting back, Good Will Hunting it comes and goes, and it gets better and evolves with me because I watched it when I was a lot younger. When did it come out? Like
1997, I want to say. It was, yeah.
Okay, I probably watched it.
It was in mid to late 90s, I'm pretty confident.
I reckon I watched it like early 2000s. I would have been like 10 to 12, 13, whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, engage that, you viewers. How old I am. But anyway, the Twin Towers had just felt... No, I'm just joking. That's terrible. But that's a real gauge for the age groups, I suppose. Yeah. But it does evolve. I love Rob Williams. I think he's one of my favorites, and he always brings something amazing to a film. It's the sad, crying... it's the
when he just says like it's
the
not your
clown
fault.
that's sad.
Not your fault.
Who that
was powerful stuff. That's powerful.
He's a good actor. His smiling, crying stuff, where he's like vaguely smiling but crying, very, very good acting. He's also just like a nice guy. He's emanating niceties through the screen, like a kid. It's like some sort of like, it's some sort of innocence, comedic thing that comedians bring to stuff when they get Jim Carrey, even I guess Adam Sandler in like Uncut Gems, all the comedians bring like a very relatable, really like personable, like childlike innocence, and when they're damaged on the screen, it seems more poignant because they're not like a strong character. It's not like Rambo crying. It's like your favorite comedian who's like made you laugh crying, who's like kind of like I am. It's a different thing, and I always love a comedian in a dramatic role. Rob Williams. Actually, I think one of the best actors ever. He brings gravitas and something new to the whole thing, and I think he carries the film. To be fair, because Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are very young in the film, and if you watch it back, they're like 22 or something. Pretty sure. Yeah,
no, I think he definitely is the headliner. Like having him in the movie, I do think I will say films where the cast of the movie are friends in real life. I think they are objectively better because you can kind of watch it and then you can feel like the camaraderie. Like when you watch us, hopefully you can tell like we're friends.
Yeah,
it's not like I just met Cameron at uni and I was like, you and I have opinions that might work well on a podcast in 10 years. It's like we're actually friends, and you can kind of tell like, oh, these guys are friends. Like,
I mean, I hope so. This is all presumptuous, but you can tell that, can't you?
You can tell.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Like, but I think it's what makes the show.
Yeah,
like,
fair enough.
Makes the podcast. It's like, we are friends. We're just having a laugh, having a crack, and
100%.
enjoying ourselves. If it was more utilitarian based, like, hey, I think your specific set of skills and knowledge would complement me and my skill and knowledge. It could be very much like, oh, this is not the same. Even if we did the same show, like you can tell, like these guys are here because they're kind of trying to achieve some goal. Yeah. As opposed to like, hey, we're just buddies doing things that buddies do. Do you know what I mean? I think that makes it relatable. Like, oh yeah, I talk to my buddies the same way. Like,
I hope it's getting that way. We're trying. I think it's evolving.
Bring in the energy.
Yeah. It's not like,
it's good.
There was 3 lobsters and they went around. It's not like that where we're talking about like a real logical, like black and white observer.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I know. Okay. I agree. Went off track there for a second. But
yeah.
I think if you're going to play 2 Boston, are they steel workers?
Yep.
What are they? Yeah.
Yeah, like
they are Boston.
Laborers, really.
Aren't they? Weren't they Boston?
Yeah,
they're Boston
they're
natives.
from Southie in Boston.
Were they laborers at some stage?
They're just laborers. Like they're just doing very deliberately menial work.
Yeah. So they know that life because they're from there.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming their brother, their dad, their mother, their friend.
They're just kind of buddies. I think lifelong friends. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, definitely watch it. It's unreal. It's a good movie. Basically, one of the characters, Will Hunting, is a genius, right? He just is, an idyllic memory, recalls everything instantly, knows everything about everything, and he's kind of content to, I don't want to say waste your life, because we talked about this with Magnus Carlsen and other geniuses.
We did,
Is it a waste of your life to do something that you're happy doing? Probably not. But if you have the talent to do something and you habitually or choose to underachieve or not to dare fail at something great, that kind of is sad. And I think having your best friend tell you like, hey, you do owe it to yourself and to, well, maybe not yourself as much as everyone else that is your friend, to get out there and do something with the gift that you've been given. And that's powerful. And that's like what we talk about friendship is really, like you in our brilliant intro video to the show. Like what are we doing? Like grab each other and try and get out of the cave. We're humans, we're social creatures. You can't do much of anything by yourself. You do need other people. And I think it's kind of a beautiful ode to what like real, genuine male love and friendship is and looks like. It is not selfish. It's selfless. Like, I want the best for you. I want you to challenge yourself and to go and potentially fail and do great things and put yourself in a situation that genuinely challenges you. Because in this small, or Boston's not a small town, but like in Boston, he's just the bee's knees and he works these menial jobs and he's content to just be the smartest guy in a small room, as opposed to like, hey, there's a big world out there. Other people are also very smart.
Yeah, but you are also like
you're
a genius.
Probably one of the smartest in the movie. But get out there and be the smartest person in the whole world, and not just this little pond. And I think it's laced with really, really good philosophy about life, about friendship, about trauma and overcoming and kind of seizing the day, a bit of carpe diem, which is good
it
stuff.
does have a bit of that.
And I mean,
plus the Robin Williams factor.
Yeah, that's right. Robin Williams is unreal. Like, he is terrific. And my second favorite movie he also features, because I'm a fan of.
Ooh, we'll get onto that in a second.
Yeah, for sure. And I could watch Good Will Hunting, but when I watch it, I almost feel like I need to take a 30-minute walk just to kind of debrief, because I'm like, this is pretty powerful stuff. Like,
it is.
The ending of Good Will Hunting is so profound. It's so good just to be like, I got to see about a girl. Like, that's so good. It's so good. It's just so, it's just like, that's real life. That's real life stuff. And to have written that when you were, Ben Affleck and that, they were quite young when they wrote that, it's just amazing.
Yeah. And they get asked about, why didn't you write anything else? And they're like, well,
you didn't know anything else.
No, I think he said something like, well, we did a lot of stuff. I went off and became Born Supremacy. Ben Affleck went and did a couple of things, married a couple of girls, and did like Daredevil. And like, it is what it is.
It is.
And it's also like, how do you top that? Like, I mean, in reality, the second thing that they write, sometimes you just do it once and like let it be.
Yeah, the sequel's often not as good as the...
Well,
there's very few examples with movies where the sequel is genuinely better than the original.
I can only think of Terminator 2 off the top of my head.
The Godfather and...
Shiz. Yeah, okay.
Batman. Like the Christopher Nolan Batman's mate with the Heath Ledger.
Oh, the Christopher Nolan Batman, 100%. The first one I didn't like at all.
Very few. I mean, a lot of people, like my brother loves... Like, we all love Lord of the Rings, because who doesn't? But I think Fellowship of the Ring is the best Lord of the Rings. Right. And a lot of people are like, nah, man, it's got to be Return of the King. And
on paper, it's Return of the King, but not sure.
Like, it's more epic because it's the conclusion. But I'm like, no, the Fellowship's actually just kind of a perfect movie. Just brilliant. It's a great movie.
If the older I get, the Fellowship really does come ahead.
It's kind of cool.
I think it's the
just
forefront.
Get some mates together. Yeah. This is the task. The older I get, this is such a segue already. The older I get, the more I'm like actually,
Ghibli.
Boromir is just a like. And again, read the books if you haven't read the books. It's a good mug. Boromir is a cool guy, and when I watched as a kid, I was like, this guy is just what a lunatic. But that's the whole point. Anyway, I don't want to get into that because that's a total segue, and maybe we'll come to Lord of the Rings later.
Well, Boromir's battling with demons.
Yeah, but he's a good he's a good dude.
Yes. Also, his dad, piece of crap, eating that like tomato. Dude. What a loser. Hate that guy.
The memes about that guy are so funny. Where it's like, do you just remember the Boromir and Faramir like hugging? They just like won the battle of Osgiliath. And then their dad's like, oh, congratulations to my son and this other guy.
It's so bad. The memes on that dude.
It's so
and
funny.
The guy's David Wenham, which is like a classic Australian actor. And I'm like, this guy.
He's also
I like this
just,
guy. Very good.
Yeah.
Faramir, you're nothing to me. Well, he eats this tomato dribbling all over his chest. Anyway, that's a whole other side now. Is that like when Aragorn broke his toe on that head? No, this is like some movie crap.
But Good Will Hunting, my number one movie. I think it's unreal.
Anything with Rob Williams, I'm biased as hell. I can't really even be unbiased, to be fair. But amazing. I like it. It's simple because it's like their story. It's a middle class, lower class, working class Boston people who it's like what. There's not too many movies that explore the idea of like if you're a full genius and you could do anything, like, and yet you're like tied to your identity within your working class. There are movies like it. Like, I'm even On the Waterfront. There's a Marlon Brando film where, you know, he's working class. He's kind of identifying with this thing. He could have been a champion boxer, but his kind of like little upbringing in the mobs and the things. That's also a spectacular film. Kind of brings him down. But the sort of Good Will Hunting one does a whole deep dive because it's like 50-50 in the psychology chair with Robin Williams with a one-on-one. And I'm a big fan with these one-on-one deep dialogue films.
It's a huge part of the film is just
a
Robin
deep
Williams,
dialogue
Matt
sitting
Damon
there.
just talking.
Yeah.
And it's so gripping.
Yeah. And that one where he's in the little park bench and he's like, you piece of shit.
It's great.
Like, you told me
it's like
that
you don't know anything.
You don't know
what
anything.
Does it smell like in the Sistine Chapel? You don't know. You never been there.
Yeah. But so the part of me, though, I have watched it back, and some of it, as I get older, is a little bit dramatic written by a 20-year-old. Like, some of it I'm like, so there's a bit that's by Louis C.K. as a comedian, does a great bit about so who wrote the film? It's Matt Damon. Matt Damon looks good in the film because who wrote the film? Matt Damon. And it's okay. And there's a bit where he's arguing with that like good looking jock with the ponytail.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got your girl, dude. And he goes up to this thing. He's like, hey, do you like apples?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, and the whole thing is banking on the fact the guy's like, yeah, I like apples. If someone came up to you in the bar and be like, do you like apples? I'd be like, get out of here, dickhead. But like the guy's like, yeah, I like apples. He's like, I got this girl's number. How do you like these apples? And I'm like, it's not a real good burn. That doesn't age well.
It's a lot of setup to get to the punchline. It really
in Boston,
works.
I feel like maybe they're all pretty hardworking. They'd be like, shut up, dude. Like, get out of here. I'm going to punch you if you like say anything else. If there's anything like Australia, I'd be like, how do you like apples, dude? He's like, I fucking kill you. No, just joking.
Where like Australians are not that bad. I don't know.
They're not. They're actually
like out of control.
It's a lovely stereotype.
He's wearing, look at him. He's killing bats. He's
killing bats. I was running away from bats like a scared little cat.
Okay, so number one in my mind, Good Will Hunting, great film.
Okay, spectacular.
Obviously, it's my list, but you feel like that's a pretty solid choice.
It's a solid choice. Okay. I could say it's tit for tat.
What's your favorite movie?
Sorry, I said tit for tat because we got some feedback from there. We should go for tit for tat.
Yeah.
Brendan's chumming in. Tit for tat. Okay, tit for tat. Okay. So I've got to, if someone asks me what's your favorite film, I've got a standard answer. And I say Shawshank Redemption. It's a standard answer. It's a white boy answer. It's every single white boy about my age answers this. If I don't say that, it's Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
If I don't say that, it's Tombstone from like the 90s. Yeah, with the Battle of the OK Corral with I think is it Val Kilmer playing Doc Holliday.
I like
good
that
film. Really liked it. It's an amazing performance. If I don't say that, I really get behind Forrest Gump, which is a controversial choice because some critics actually hate that film because it's a little corny.
Forrest Gump, it's a hard one, I think.
I do like that film though. It really holds a place.
It's an easy to watch film.
It's just a good film.
I don't know if it's one of
my
my
makes me feel good.
It's easy to watch.
But these are my standard answers, right?
Even
could be The Prestige.
With Hugh Jackman and
yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
It hits all the things. So you guys out there don't know, but I love David Bowie. Love him. He's in it. He plays Nikola Tesla to invent the machine that takes Hugh Jackman to the top of the game.
He's a pretty eccentric fellow.
Yeah, and it's also Christopher Nolan. Everyone loves those
Nolan
big French horns.
He's an excellent.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
really.
he's
Makes
a good auteur.
Good stuff.
Okay. I could say that. I could also say maybe...
Just asking you for one here, in case anyone didn't know.
The Dark Knight. But, okay, these are my standard answers. These are my
standard.
The actual answer is Hook.
Oh, with the Peter Pan, like the old.
That is my favorite film.
That is a
and I will stand behind it. It is 100% my favorite film.
I love that as a choice. That's a very, very.
It's my favorite film.
It's also a super unique one. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. That being said,
Steven Spielberg can't be too unique.
A lot of people kind of have pretty basic answers. I've asked some people that I've worked with and just talking to, and they're kind of, oh, what's the most recent movie? I'm like, that's not how favorite movie works. Come on.
Yeah, what's the most recent? I love Parasite. I mean,
and part of it is like, do you remember like what makes a movie great? Do you remember it? Like, is it good? And yeah. Anyway, but Hook is a great movie. I like the idea.
Love Hook.
I
love Hook.
Yeah,
I watched this so much time when I was a little kid.
I watched it probably 6-7 times. The guy who played Hook in that is basically the perfect casting for Hook.
Rob Williams.
Is it Robin
It's
Williams?
Robin Williams.
Really?
Yeah. No, hang on.
Dustin Hoffman.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So Dustin
I was
Hoffman doesn't
gonna say,
even look like Dustin Hoffman.
No. Yeah. It just looks perfect.
It's
like it's a perfect casting.
so good.
The red jacket, everything looks amazing.
Yeah.
This is good. It's very good. And the idea of coming back to Neverland is unreal.
It's just a great story. It has a lot of layers. It's poignant to me. The fantasy of
a
it.
Great story.
Yeah.
So my wife and I started buying a lot of the old, like the classic Disney movies, like the 1920 something Snow White.
Great.
Like the
and
old
it's amazing
school
because I didn't, when you're younger, you don't realize that film is that old.
It's so good.
It's ridiculous.
Like I watched it as a grown man with my wife, like a little, like a son who's
movie night.
ready to watch. Yeah, movies. You want to watch them, make sure it's all good. And they're just, it's unreal. So it's like kind of a timeless story. It's very, very good, and it makes me a little bit sad when you. It's one of those. It's few stories that you should just almost either never make again or just recreate it, make it look a bit nicer or whatever. Because it is.
They did a pretty good job.
It is kind of like this is a timeless story. It doesn't need to be changed or updated for modern audiences. Or anything. It's actually a really, really good story.
I could not imagine those dwarves drawn or acted better.
They're actually
Doc to
very cool.
Sleepy,
I don't think
they're well done. From the birds to the bees and the people.
It's very, very impressive. And it's like
bumming around in
old
the
school. They
background.
do
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's like the flipping page.
It's the flippy
It's
pages.
very
Yeah.
impressive. But the idea
moves
of
of the
story
cloaks
is
and
it's
stuff?
cool. Like it's
Big
the
fan.
dwarves are cool. Like they kill the witch. Or the,
Yeah,
they go
Which is
and hunt her down.
Maleficent? No,
I don't know
no.
who it was. It's like the
queen of the
witch lady.
Can't
But
remember.
like they chase her down and like fight her, even though she's like kind of cackling and scary. And they're like, no, we got to protect our
Isn't it Maleficent?
girl.
I think it is Maleficent.
Oh, I'm
actually,
not that clued in with my Disney.
Yeah, okay.
I'm getting a little bit back into it, but you know what's a like super segue? My brother's like a massive dude, like
Right.
very manly,
He's a big guy,
looking guy.
Yeah.
Our favorite movie as kids, we used to love Little Mermaid.
Is he gonna hate
Just
this?
loved
Is he
it.
gonna hate this?
Maybe loved Little Mermaid.
George.
We watched it so
Yeah,
many
Morgs
times.
don't kill us. Yeah.
The Little Mermaid, which is not a show you would immediately think was, you got two boys that are very like sporty, just into wrestling. Like, what's your favorite movie, boys? Like Little Mermaid, love it.
I love the Mermaid.
Just love the Little Mermaid. Anyway,
And everyone's like, no, I'm just joking.
Cool.
Okay.
No, very good. Very good story. Love that. Hook. What makes that your number one?
It's a time period thing, and it's something grabbed me when I was a kid, and I have to pay
Part.
homage
Pan,
to
the
that.
original, it's also just a very, very easy to watch and enjoy story.
Yeah, and I think Robin Williams, once again, this is the fucking through line. Excuse my French. This is the through line. He plays a good child. He's that like
about comedians.
you got that laughing and crying face for the theater. He's that guy. He's the laughing
Like
and crying face. When he's laughing, he's crying. When he's crying, but when he's laughing, he's crying. He's crying. He's laughing. There's some pain there. You can tell that dude's like gone through some stuff.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Steve, and he just plays a good like happy dude. He's like almost bipolar. So he's like, I feel like he's not. I think he's got something going on, but he's like emanating a bit of everything.
Yep.
Have you seen the movie Jack?
No.
That's a banger.
Just the movie
Another
Jack.
Robin Williams film where he plays a guy who ages 7 times faster.
This is going to be like the Robin Williams best of list.
This can't be right. That's no good.
Well, it's okay.
We are going very Hollywood though. Is there any films that you want to go tip for tat that are less popular?
No, well, my second favorite film is Dead Poet Society. So
How many Robin Williams films have we got here?
I know.
It's a
That's
classic
what I was
one,
sitting there. I'm
yeah.
like, oh, you got some Robin
But how
Williams.
good is he with that small? Okay, it's pause and Robin Williams goes like he does a small speech. That's his thing.
Speech.
You know,
What's
like there's this whole thing where he pauses and goes, engineers, they're good. They sustain life. But art and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's just good at it. And it just works.
Like makes yeah.
It's what you live for. Blah, blah,
It's
blah.
true. Yeah, it is very true. I think, I think liberal education is wildly underrated. I think everybody should get a 4-year liberal education, and it should not get you a job in anything. But it's good for you to know.
Yeah.
Look at us. Like, we have degrees.
Yeah, we
Not
would
helping
tout
anyone.
our own
This is-
education because we've done exactly that. Like a bunch of
but like
idiots.
the point of liberal education is not to get a job; it's
Right.
to learn
Yeah.
And I think that's learn how to think, learn what to think, and like it's learn how to be, why to be. That's the purpose of it. It's not a utility kind of situation. You should study, the history and the cultures and the reasons why people
get a background. Think why you think you think.
Yeah.
Does Brendan want to chime in?
Yeah, I was just going to give my opinion on Hook, and then also like another Robin
Let's
Williams,
go.
movie that I like as well, which is Patch Adams. And I think like nostalgia is one of the main things that we as individuals, I think, find our favorite movie. It's like that perfect time when you like watch a movie and it's impactful in your life as like a young age. I think that's one of the points. But what Robin Williams does so well is like access that inner child. I think that's what you were trying to say, Cameron, a little bit. So one of the big things about watching Hook, like as an adult, is after being an adult and you're working full time, it's just you're going through that monotony of life. And going back to Neverland, it makes him believe, and it makes him like get in touch with that inner child and that curiosity, which is what we spoke about in in a previous episode. So it's like when you have children, you see that again. It's just kind of touching on that, like accessing your inner child, and Robin Williams is like the best ever to do that. Cheers.
I would 100% agree. These are like I feel like all the movies we mentioned have like taken one big concept and there's a big story around it, but like there's actually just a very simple like Patch Adams. He's like a doctor who's trying to make everything childlike and more simple. Yeah. And then there's like Hook. He's a really serious man who's had a like bit of a rough ride.
Take himself less
and
seriously.
He's becoming like a child and more serious. Dead Poets Society, he's trying to be like
one of those
life is serious.
Too,
Huh?
Like, anyway, God, sorry.
What'd you say?
It's like one of these like as you guys may remember, I'm the papist of the podcast, but this is actually a very biblical idea. It is.
Which story?
It's just like be childlike to enter the kingdom of heaven sort of thing. Gosh. I thought about it the other day and I was like, why would you say, like, what does that mean? Because there's lots of things that you can read and not have any idea what it means. But I was thinking about this while I'm like with my son and he's jumping off monkey bars and stuff, and he's jumping off with a blind faith that I will catch him. I'm like, that might be what it means, maybe a little bit like, but also like there is something about children that is like, I feel like you guys might be, they're very pure.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And authentic, and like they just are who they are.
Yeah.
And so much of life is trying to, society and life tries to mold you into a certain place. And I think that's probably antithetical to what we should do. And like what Hook is doing
I agree.
Rediscovering like, hey, actually, I'm more than this. I should be believing. I should be loving. I should be
maybe
doing.
The subconscious for all this is we both admire this acting man who has like done such a great job of still keeping his inner child.
Listen,
is this
honestly,
the subline?
My next couple of favorite movies don't have Robin Williams, but like I do have.
No, but I'm a big fan of keeping that inner child, that innocence. I want to be fun and playful. I think this is my whole thing, man. If I'm, is that getting in heaven? I'm set, baby. I'm like basically a moron. No, I'm just joking.
Perfect.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Also, that Blind Faiths, Chasing Status, great song. We've mentioned before. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like living, Seinfeld had a great quote where he's like, when you have a child, you live your childhood again.
You do.
As a second time.
Yeah,
and
my
you
dad
should
told
do
me
it
that.
just for that. Yeah.
He said to me, I think I mentioned it in our masculinity episode, which has been the most
something good come out of that one?
beloved episode that we put out. But to summarize, because no one watched that episode,
we had a bit of an argument about that.
Like nostalgia, for nostalgia to be in its proper and ordered place, you actually need to have children. It's kind of weird to be 35 watching Star Wars at the movies by yourself. Like that's probably not for you. Like maybe. Like it's weird to be this involved, like invested in, like, hey, maybe like it's a child thing, like this is not.
I understand what you're saying.
But if you have a kid and you can see, I know you do.
Brendos, chime in.
But let me finish my point. Like, it's not appropriate for adults to be going to these movies with men in span. Like, these are children's movies. It's a cartoon about.
You're gonna get heaps of hate.
It's a cartoon about Captain America and Robot Man and fighting each other. Like, that's all super cool. I love that. But I loved it when I was a kid, and I think it's less cool when you're an adult. But when you have your own kids, it's cool to re-experience that. And I enjoy that. I'm not saying you can't enjoy things, but it's just nostalgia. People throw it around like, oh, it's just reminiscing on my childhood. I'm like, well, it's reliving your childhood, and that's not appropriate unless you have children.
Interesting.
Because you shouldn't be living. Like, it's wrong to go back to think as a child without a child present. Like, it's not good. It'd be the same like if you were about to get married to a lovely woman and you keep thinking about girlfriends you had in the past. Like, that's not an appropriate thing to think about in this time.
Thinking about girlfriends in a galaxy far.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that sisters, brothers? What's going on?
Did you want to chime in, Brennan?
All right, Brennan, tell us why I'm wrong.
I just think you can have nostalgia without being married or having children or anything. It's just literally watching that movie again reminds you, like, it triggers your memory into like really enjoying that and like having that impactful thing on your life. I don't think it's related to having children, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's definitely something wrong with trying to live your childhood as a 30-something-year-old all the time. But there's nothing wrong with having Star Wars as a thing that you watched as a child, and therefore you'll forever like it. And the same with Hook.
Probably agree. I mean, I agree with you. I know what you're saying. There's some parts of it that I'm like, but then I do what Brendan said. Like, the movie is still like a conceptual movie where it's like sci-fi and you got to use your brain, and there's like a lot of like nostalgia, and like it's nothing really too problematic. Maybe the movies have become a little bit too childlike.
Look, listen, I don't think you're a bad person, or you should never. I don't think it should be illegal to watch the movie or anything like that. I do think I think it's objectively a little bit weird if you're a grown man and you're really, really excited to see who the Hulk is going to punch.
Well, is it still okay to be really, really excited to see who is going to play a new Aragon, though? Because we both really like Lord of the Rings.
I don't care who plays Aragon, because it's not about Aragon. And further to the point, like, there are movies that aren't for children. Like, Dead Poet Society is not a kids movie.
Now, there's some bad stuff happens there.
Do you know what I mean? But like, it's a deep film. It's for adults. What I'm trying to say is, when you're an adult, you should watch adult films, not those kind, but like, movies made for adults that make you think and that have real themes. I'm sorry, like the Avengers and stuff, they're popcorn and they're fun. Like, it's explosions, it's fine. Like, I'm not saying they're bad, but if you listen to people who are really into the medium, into the art, they're not very good. Right, okay. They're not full. Like, you're not going to see Martin Scorsese say these are great movies. He's like, no, they actually suck. They're not very good.
Yeah, fair enough.
But they make a lot of money and they're very flash, and people like to watch them. But they're not like, let's just really think about this and let's unpack what's happening. No, it's for kids. Like, it's a kids movie. The themes are for children, and it's not wrong to every now and then like turn on Star Wars and watch it, or turn on Iron Man and watch it. Like, that's totally fine. It is a little bit weird though. I think objectively, if you're getting super excited as a man in your late 20s, early 30s, you're like, I just can't wait to see like who's Batman gonna fight. Like, what's gonna happen. Like, this is not a thing. This is just like exactly what's gonna happen.
Right.
The whole story is very, very.
That's part of the film. They've really ruined a bunch of those storylines.
Yeah, and
some of them are really interesting.
It's fine to be like a fun movie. I think the issue I have is when it's, I'm so keen for this. And similar, like, the Lord of the Rings is not a movie for children. It has got very deep themes about people and place and power and nature. It's a very, very interesting, I know Tolkien hated allegory and analogy, but like, that is a very, very fantastic
Did he hate
film that
allegory
is-
analogy?
He didn't
More
like
direct?
it. Yeah. You should
Okay,
read some of the stuff.
okay.
He's not a big fan of allegory, but it is like ultimately like you can take a lot out of it, and I think that's a difference. Like I said, I'm not really gonna bust anyone's balls if they love Batman, but it is okay. Let me try this analogy. Right, I'm 29. I'm married. I've got 2 kids. And my wife already thinks I do too much of this stuff.
Too much of...
Like just, hobbies with the boys.
Right,
But imagine like me.
We need to go, boys.
Here we
Lock
go.
it down. Turn it
Imagine
off.
me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what?
Jokes.
I'm just going to play with my Legos. I'm going to buy some Legos. I'm going to sit in the living room and build these big, impressive Legos, which is like objectively, Legos very cool. No one's going to argue. No one's going to say Legos crap. It's no good. Legos fantastic. Really cool. It is probably a problem if I'm doing it at 35, 29. Like I've got responsibilities. I have things I need to be doing. And if I'm spending that time doing Legos, however,
You can make lots of
if
money.
I spent the same amount of time doing it, but I have my son with me, there's suddenly no issue.
Right.
And why is there no issue? Like, because it's in its rightly ordered place. Like that's respectable now. Before it's like that's kind of selfish and maybe like could you grow up a little bit? And then if you have a child, you're like totally fine. It's fantastic. In fact, father of the year. This guy's a legend. My son's having bonding time. We're building things. It's engaging the brain. It's really, really good. But it becomes a lot less good if you have no child. And I loved Legos. I have great memories playing with Lego with my dad, who talked about when I was a kid I had Lego.
Did he have Legos back then? How old's Legos?
Well, I don't know if like Legos exactly the same, but you have blocks of some kind.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's specifically Legos,
Bionicles.
but you're building things and you're doing stuff. It's like I got to redo it. It's really fun, and I'm much better at it as an adult. So I can kind of read the instructions and I can build it all, and it looks great.
It's actually quite easy as an adult. It's kind of funny.
It's not that hard. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
Would be like if I came over to your house, like, hey, I want to come over and have a beer, and I just saw you building the Legos. I'm like, oh, this is a little bit. How's it going?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, mate? Why aren't you doing some research on the next podcast?
So I guess
What's
like
happening?
I do get that innate feeling when I get too deep in a random hobby. Like if I'm playing a game too much or I'm bumming around too much, I'm like, this is really the end. There's no real end out of this. This is really just like waste of time in and of itself.
Is it an escapism for something?
But
There's no
if you were
purpose
so
to
good at Legos that all the kids came and were like, Carlton, I love your Legos, and you gave all of the fun Lego vibes to all the kids, and you're like the best in the world, then that like kind of makes it a little better, as long as you're okay guy. Seems like a weird situation.
I'm not actually sure.
I know what you mean. Like it's like
But,
sitting and becoming too insular and like like this is like my thing. I'm gonna do this random little thing too much without like actually assisting and helping another person. I think is like also problematic. But I don't think in and of itself playing with Legos is like
okay. Well,
crummy.
could you characterize it like this then?
Yeah,
The focus is on yourself,
that's the problem.
and that's the problem.
That's
right?
that's
Okay.
what I'm getting.
So that's
at
where
there, yeah.
like again, like my dad took me to see Batman when I was a kid. I don't think my dad really cares. Like I'm sure he was like, yeah, it's a great movie. I don't think he's like, I can't wait for the sequel. Like, if it comes out,
Can't wait for
I'll
the
go see it.
penguin.
But he took.
What's he gonna do?
This guy's wearing. He's
a penguin.
He's wearing a giant question mark. He's a serious guy, is he? He's leaving riddles around.
Ah,
Like,
better solve those riddles.
you know?
Jeez.
Okay.
Thanks,
but
Carlton.
he took me because it was I was excited and it was cool and it was good to do. I think that's like quite beautiful.
My mum used to say like she loved taking me to the children's movies, but she was like, there was a point when you turned about a certain point, she was like, thank you that we don't have to go to these anymore because I'm out of these films. I've had enough of these Hunchback of Notre Dame's. I've bought the McDonald's toy. We've gone to the thing. We got the backpack. We're at the Echo with the show bag. I've had enough. It's over. We need to get those adult films. She was happy to go with me to watch Lord of the Rings. She was like, oh, yes, a non-garbage film with real circumstances.
I want to have some I want to have some steaks. I want to have some
or lemnos bread.
What is the purpose of things? And I suppose I guess my whole thing is nostalgia when it's not properly ordered in its right place. The focus of the thing is on yourself.
Ooh, nostalgia can be dangerous. It can be super negative.
Right,
like
so
actually
you're
no
around.
good.
You're
I'm all about it.
Take that, producer Brendos.
No. Nostalgia's good, but it's a dangerous game. Like if it's not productive,
right.
it can be like
Okay. Like
negative,
most
I think.
things in life, there is a time and a place where that is appropriate. And there's a lot of, most of the times in places, it's not appropriate to do
That's
lots
true.
of things. And I think maturity is really understanding when this is and isn't appropriate.
I agree.
And I think, like, I don't think Brendan and I didn't, unfortunately, we're having some tech. I couldn't hear everything he was saying, but I'm sure it wasn't something that I would disagree with. No, I'm sorry, I wouldn't disagree.
Whatever you said, it's probably fine.
I didn't say that. I said I probably wouldn't disagree because I don't think what I was saying, or if I did, it wasn't my intention to say, if you're excited about Star Wars, you're a loser as an adult. It's more if that becomes like a real focus, maybe you're misusing nostalgia. Maybe you just like the
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I think my general purpose is like, as an adult, you do need to progress and mature and move on to the next phase. And it seems to be a little bit. We seem to be quite slow at doing that. Our generation, we're kind of hanging desperately on to this childhood or this adolescence. Where I'm like, it's time to pick up your cross and let's just be adults now.
Let it go.
Okay,
If I flash back, I'm sure my older
I remember some
relatives would
people
have been
I
like,
went to
that's
school with
enough. Yeah.
massively excited for Toy Story 3. And they're like, it's made for
Yeah,
you.
I didn't
It's
watch
so
it.
Good.
I
didn't
don't
watch
think.
it. Do you know why? I was like
It's
21.
weird.
I'm like, what am I watching Toy Story
But
for?
I'm a big film guy, and I got a mad reviews, and I still didn't watch it. I just wasn't in the mood.
No.
And I know it's going to be sad.
Probably will be good, probably, but I'm not the person that is going to be watching this anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was 9, best movie ever.
So I'm okay with watching a Disney film for kids, but like I've got to be in the mood, and I know that it's so Disney is like, I want to get all the emotions. So it's like happy, sad, laughter, fantasy, depression, amorousness, all that stuff. He's got to put everything in the entire film. So like, I know there's a point where they're going to make me cry. Like the whole thing is like they're trying to push for it. Like
he does cry. I watch
every
Marley
single
Me.
Disney film has a point where it's like, we're going to kill off that character you like the most. I'm like, I get it, Disney. Like, I get it. I have to be in the point. We're going to run over Mufasa. I'm going to do some spoilers here. We're going to run over Mufasa. We're going to kill that pink elephant in like Inside Out. We're going to like kill the most interesting character in the film for fun. Like, and Bambi's mom. Like, this is what Disney does. And so I have to be in the mood for that. You know what I mean? I didn't even watch that movie Soul because I'm like, okay, it's a dead guy. He's dead. I know there's going to be a point where it's like, and you're still dead. Like, and I'm like, I get it, Disney. You're going to like pull at my heartstrings.
Okay.
I've got to be in the mood for that.
You got to be prepared mentally for some heartache. Okay.
It's real. They're doing it. It's like almost trauma. Really, it's like almost full on. Like they're like, and I love things, and then like that's what the hell do. That's their thing. Okay, let's talk about something else. Like let's talk about eras. So we've talked about a huge amount of films, and they all fall between 1991 and like 2004.
That's a good point. I think partly I'm an old soul, so I have a general aversion to new stuff.
Anything new.
Because new stuff is not as good.
Right.
We were actually laughing before you got here. Cameron was very late today. About like cars. And Brenos and I were like laughing. Like, do you like this car? I'm like, nah, I don't really know. I like cars that were built 50, 60 years ago because they seem to have some real character and they were different.
They're well built.
That's
a
they
massive
just
factor
looked
of it.
like different cars.
Yes.
I feel like now every car looks the same and it's the same color. It's like three colors. It's black, white, grey.
They are very
occasionally you're
lame.
like, is that a red
Yeah.
car? Oh my goodness.
They've all become rounded and trash.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's all very banal.
Yeah, they're
And
crap.
I don't like that.
We
just
know
wanna
this
see
shit. Everyone
some
knows
stuff.
this shit.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, oh, I really love the Mazda 3 from 2005.
Exactly. There's
That's
never
a
gonna
good
be
car.
hey, is that a collectible?
Yeah, we'll get that
Tesla?
one.
Like, no. It's
Nah.
a piece of crap. It looks
Tesla's
like
okay, but
this guy, what's he on?
Tesla's it's better than the average car, I think. But like, it's still meh. Who cares?
So the era thing's interesting to me. I like. My dad says this actually to me. He's like, "You're very negative about modern movies." I'm like, "Well, if they didn't suck,
Thanks,
I
Dad.
probably wouldn't be."
They didn't
harder.
suck ass.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I
there
get
is
that,
a
yeah.
point where you watch some of the older Disney movies. Even like there are stakes. Like Mufasa. I know, like Lion King is Hamlet, but like people die. It's a real like coming of age story and
it's full
overcoming
on.
adversity. There are stakes to the Lion King. I think a lot of movies these days have no stakes. Like my biggest issue with the Avengers and stuff like that is there's no
They're gonna win.
stakes. There's no sex. There's nothing in it. and sex, but I mean, like, there's no difference between anyone. They're sterile and banal, and like, what is even the point of any of this? What is going on? We just have random people just rocking up, making a team. There's no, like, what is the core? Or we're talking about art. Like, what is the best art? It's usually about love. That's the whole, like, that's what art is. It's what living life is about. Is like, how do we express a love for someone? And that potentially sometimes is in grey art like this. No, I'm just joking. That's very abstract. But like, you know, if it's it's the Sistine Chapel's ceiling, it's the love of God to man, right? Or if it's any music, like any song, basically, is the love of two people. They're just describing.
Mostly love songs, I guess.
It's all basically about love. And if you like country, you love trucks and dirt and stuff. So that's good.
And jeans, pickups,
jeans and
whiskey,
beers, but it's about like expressing yourself. Like, it's a love. And I think the Avengers thing's like, well, there's none of that. It's just not present.
I did like
shallow.
that film though. I know you hate that film, but like that
Which
film,
one?
just the general Avengers.
The
like,
Avengers,
I think it was okay. It was a well done, well calculated Hollywood film. It's like a pretty solid to form. It's not bad. Like, there's good graphics. I can rate.
Yeah,
look,
I think I've watched one of them, maybe two.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't remember anything about them really, because I think one of them was like dropping something from the sky, or
something came out of something. It wasn't actually.
There's like
there,
a big
green
battle,
screen.
and they're in the sky for some reason. I don't remember.
Yeah, sky
how
people.
they got there, or why.
Skymen.
Skymen. Yeah, I don't know. They're flying around, and like, in 20 seconds, this is going to wrap up, and it's fine. But I guess my point about this sex difference, I think the only interesting distinction between humans is male and female. Everything else is social, right? Like, it's all cultural. Because the difference between you and I, whilst we may look very similar, a couple of handsome young men, we are ethnically different people. Like, you and I come from, we have different genomes. Similar because we're like both.
We're both Caucasus. I mean,
but we are actually different, right? Like, my family is more Saxon than Anglo, and you may be more Anglo than Saxon, right?
Yes, that's probably the case.
But
yeah, fair enough.
Right,
point, yeah.
Right. But if I took a man from India and raised him in England, there would be no difference besides his physical, like, biologically ethnic characteristics. There's no difference between him and I, because he's born and raised, and is embraces by merit of having no others, but embraces these cultural tenets. So you're like, oh, this guy's English. He just looks different. But he's this guy's an English dude. The only actual differences between people are men and women.
I thought we were talking about movies.
I know. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay,
that's a good point.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, the only actual differences.
Not bad. Tinkerbell.
Big
male fairies.
Big swiping brush with that one. Big swiping brush. I mean, I can't say the only actual differences between men and women, because that's
the
like,
only tangible. There's differences between you and me.
Yeah.
But the differences are very minor, and mostly they're social. Right? Like,
right.
I've got some mates from South Africa and Botswana, actually, which is just above Africa. Anyway, like, he sees the world the same way I do. But I've got my wife, for example, back when I was single, I had female friends that would see the world very differently. And we spoke about this, like Eilish and Aaron. They just describe a night out, and you're like, that's not what, like, I think. And we're like with you, like, out on the town with you.
Yeah, good point. Different points of view.
Experiencing the same reality. It's very different. But if I talk to you about the same night, you're like, basically what I saw and experienced is what you saw and experienced.
Right.
But if you talk to Eilish or Aaron, very, very different experience of that night.
I guess I can't argue with the most.
It's kind
the
of
biggest demarcating difference between all humans is probably male and female. Yeah, I guess. But I don't know if I've thought about that long enough to, like, make that exact.
Look, we are working on this much larger series. This really just came to me, and I thought, it'd be funny. I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess that is the premise of, like, why movies that are really good do highlight the distinction between men and women, and why they're different and complementary and are beautiful, and why sometimes, like, the whole think about Good Will Hunting.
Okay,
The
let's
dude,
pull it back.
it's mad man love. They're like,
It's a man love.
each
It's a bro
other.
film.
Right? Like, you and me, we're love each other. We're good buddies. And then I'm saying you got to go see about this girl because there's an understanding. You need to be there.
Be better, baby.
With that person. And that's how you complete life. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's different to just staying with the boys. It's different. It's better. It's maturing. It's evolving. It's where you're supposed to be.
Well, the
That's
whole
great.
conversation with Robin Williams is about Robin Williams' wife most of the time. And
he's just I haven't gotten over her.
So the best time I ever spent was this thing. Why did you miss the fifth World Series, man? Like blah 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 blah.
Awesome story.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go see about it again. But that's what I'm talking about, and you don't get that in modern movies because there's no sophistication. It's so shallow, and it's everyone's the same. Well, that's actually kind of boring if everyone's the same. It's not that interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's no purpose of a hero if there's no one that needs to be saved.
100% think the 90s films have a more depth into their weird confrontation into any of these issues. I think they're better.
Probably,
I think they're in it. And I want a film that talks about a concept.
Yeah,
I really like a whole concept that's delivered and experienced and looked into for ages. And I agree with you. They're looking into a full concept. I don't want this shit that's like, hey, man, we went to this place and we did this thing and I'm powerful and I got an enemy, but he's a bad guy. And I'm like, okay, cool,
he's
man. I give a
me
shit.
For 20 minutes.
I want to talk about this guy and his existential crisis about being vaguely intelligent in a shit community. Or I want to talk about, the Dead Poet Society where it's like, hey, maybe let's don't kill ourselves because life is good. Don't ruining the movie there. They're not ruining the movie. That's fine. All the above. Any movies... I was going to flashback any films
some more movies that you like.
No, I was going to say, do you have any points in a film that you've ever thought about? I said some films I think about, like moments in the film I think about now. It comes up to me in life.
Okay.
I had to think about it. I think I lost a little bit. I've got to remember it while we're talking.
Are you talking about a specific film? You're asking me if
specific moment, like a specific thing in a film that's like either crushing or good or bad or like interesting, makes you think.
Okay. Definitely the moment Ben Affleck rocks up to what's his name, Matt Damon's house, Will Hunting's house, and he's not there, and he kind of smiles and drives off to his crappy job.
That's right. Yeah.
That was pretty wild for me, and a lot of things.
That's true because it's subtle.
It takes time to appreciate and to really understand, the level of love that you have to have for someone for that to even come about. That's really, really profound. And I think one of the worst parts about just modern life is it's everything. It seems like you can't have love for your friends without it being sexual. People perceive it to be sexual.
Fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? If you say oh, I love a man, people look at you a bit funny. You're like, well, why can't you?
And what did you say? Fair enough.
I think that's the problem. I think there is the idea of fraternity and brotherhood and stuff should be highlighted.
Yeah, so it's not really championed in films too often. I'm not gonna lie, that. I can't think of too many super bro films. Dumb and Dumber is a very super bro film. I love that film. Big super bro film.
What? I know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of.
I know. It's
super bro
Keanu
films.
Reeves and someone else I've seen in other movies, but yeah.
No.
No, Dumb and Dumber. It's not.
It's Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, man. Let's get it in. You got to watch that shit.
Really?
But this is my era. You know what I mean?
Keanu just kind of feels like he would do a Dumb and Dumber movie. Anyway,
yeah, he's Dumb and Dumber. Well, he's done a film that's almost the same. It's called Bill and Ted, and they're both Dumb and Dumber. And it's effectively the same film.
Seems like a nice guy. But anyway.
So Brendan mentioned Patch Adams. There's a film where he turns around in the courtroom and he's like, I am trying to defend myself against the medical establishment and I'm losing. I don't know why I'm snapping all of a sudden. But anyway, and all of a sudden he turns around, all of the patients who are like, oh, thanks for making my vaguely time when I was going to die real good. And they come into the balcony. All the kids have noses on and shit. That's like a film. That's a moment. That's classic. It's like when Dorothy enters the Wizard of Oz and it turns from black and white to color. This is some good shit.
It's a real thing.
It's a big, big moment.
Okay.
Love that shit. Think about that. I think about the Green Mile guy every now and then. Sometimes.
You know what? Another moment that I think about a lot.
Yeah.
That's
go for it.
I feel like is kind of cool. Is the for Frodo line in Lord of the Rings? where they go like, because they're all going to die, right? They're all going to die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's this. I know it sounds.
It's hard because there's so many memes on this. It's like
who?
it's just something completely different.
I've never heard of Frodo, so who are you fighting? But like, it's a pretty powerful moment where it's this idea of honor and duty, and you're like, yeah, we might die. It's all for a chance. We don't actually know where Frodo is, but if we can keep the attention, we give him a chance, and that's kind of cool. Like, this guy's a king. Could just be a king. Maybe
he doesn't even have to do that. In fact, he could have just sat and done jack shit, and Frodo would have still dropped the ring, and they would have died anyway.
I suppose even further to that, the idea, which is a spoiler if anyone hasn't read Tolkien, it's too late.
It's too late now. This thing's been out for 20 years.
The idea, like, Frodo couldn't drop the ring in the lava.
Oh, yeah, he couldn't.
It was destroyed by accident because no one can destroy the ring.
Yeah,
because the pull, the allure power is so strong that no one is gonna like. Oh, boys,
it's a good check.
Very cool.
Drop it in. No,
there are two guys though. I think Cincinnatus and Diocletian, I believe, Roman dictators that ended up being like, no, that's enough for me.
Okay.
Diocletian was awesome because he was like a farmer. And then Rome was like in all sorts of catastrophe. And then people were like, can you come back and be the king? And he's like, no way. Check out these cabbages I'm growing. It's real. It's really good.
Making some sauerkraut.
Like producer Brendos can like research this, put it on the screen. It's a genuine story. And this guy was like, I think the quote was like, very, very profound. It's like, if you could see the beauty of these cabbages, you would not be asking me this. It was something very, very cool.
But also, that's the type of guy you want leading because he's not doesn't want it. That's the whole point of it.
And Cincinnatus, I think, also had like, he was dictator for 2 terms, and then he said, I can't do it anymore. It's bad for me. I'm going to give it up.
It's very American.
And then George Washington used that guy as the example for 2 terms.
So anything to do with Cincinnati?
Until like until FDR, that was not a law. You could run for office 7 times in a row.
But they didn't do it.
But then they put it in law like, you can't do that.
So I always hear like them always like the evident wisdom of all the founding fathers put in this.
Yeah, it was like the idea of like, I can't remember what in the legal sense it's called precedent, I think it's called.
Okay, fair enough.
But like the precedent set by George Washington, who was almost inarguably like the greatest American.
Yeah, it's hard to like
everyone loves this guy.
Yeah.
Could have been a king, turned down, like just a cool guy, good dude. Like he had 2 terms and said, I can't do anymore. And then that carried on for like a century and a half is actually pretty insane. But anyway, the point is, Cincinnatus, Diocletian, those are the boys in Rome that originally were like,
well, there's just so many crap emperors to choose from, really. I mean, those sound good. I know a lot of crap ones. They're floating around.
Like the dictators of Rome and whatnot. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the deal is like, it's so easy to be like, this is a...
And this is what all men think about Rome in every given minute. I think about it. It's real. I do think about this all the time. In fact, but
I send you all the memes about Rome. So
but like it's because it's effectively now. Just 1,000 years ago, and they effed it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of the same.
If they didn't F it, we'd be colonizing Mars probably.
Maybe
some good stuff.
They're pretty legit. It's very impressive.
Legions. Think about that.
Space
cool. Legions.
Oh yeah, you sent me that thing the other day. That was
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
We have so few fantasies, and they're all the same.
What's the time check, Brendan? Just a side note. Should we call it? I've got so much more to say about movies, but I reckon we can can that and do another day.
Movies are good.
I'm gonna think about it. I've got a lot of stuff to say, but yeah.
You're gonna give me 2 more?
Nah. Let's because it's a whole other shebang. We're talking about French films. We're talking about South Korean films.
Yeah.
We're talking about Japanese.
I do know one
Russian films.
Ava Green, but that's another. Yeah, she's
nice.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
Very nice.
Okay,
yeah.
Set it out. We'll edit that out. In post.
No, there's a golden age of Hollywood. There's the 50s, 60s, whatever. Lovely.
I think
kind of went downhill in the 80s.
I think, you hate me. A White Christmas. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Nothing wrong with it.
It's a great film. Okay, all right.
Spectacular.
Thank you for watching, making us part of your day. This has been 2 Blokes in a Cave. We're the blokes trying to get out of the cave.
Yeah.
Until
but we're
next
watching
time.
movies at this point. Have a good one.